Hi there! In this chapter, we will be looking at understanding all about sound and how we can create comfortable acoustic environments that bring spatial well-being. Let us do a short activity based on a perception test, shall we? Which of these two classrooms shown has a better acoustic experience? Which of these two offices has a better acoustic experience? Which of these two restaurants shown has a better acoustic experience? In this section, we will try to understand what sound means and how different it is from noise. Listen to these sounds carefully and try identifying the differences. Sound 1 is a loud crash that certainly causes discomfort or irritation to your ears, right? This would then qualify as noise, while sound 2 was a pleasant strumming of a guitar, which would qualify to be a sound or even music, since it may have had a soothing effect to your ears. Now, someone's noise may be someone else's music and vice versa. This is also subjective based on personal choice and experiences. An anechoic chamber is so designed to absorb all sound waves and reflect none, making it the quietest space existing. People who have spent time in the anechoic chamber have complained of discomfort. This may be because the human brain is so used to having some kind of ambient sounds in the background, be it urban sounds or sounds of nature. Put on some noise-cancelling headphones or try visiting a recording studio to get a sense of an almost noiseless world. We all live in environments that have some ambient noise or the other. Our brain is used to this. Complete noiselessness or amplified sounds may cause discomfort. Why is designing for acoustic comfort important? Look at this comic in detail to understand the reasons in a fun manner. In this section, we will try to understand the behavior of sound. What is sound and how is it caused? Sound vibrations travel through elastic mediums in the form of small pressure changes, alternating above and below the static nature of the conducting material. Picture a vibrating tuning fork. As it moves in one direction, it compresses the air particles next to it. They, in turn, pass on the reaction to adjacent particles of air. Each of these compression rarefaction cycles is called a wave. The number of waves that occur per second is termed as frequency. Frequency is measured in terms of hertz. 1 hertz is equal to 1 cycle per second. The human ear can discern sounds ranging from approximately 20 to 20,000 hertz. Human speech ranges between 125 and 4,000 hertz. The decibel is probably the one parameter that is most associated with noise, hearing, and acoustics. It is a unit used for measuring the intensity of sound. Let us look at the chart given and understand what sounds correspond to what decibels and how comfortable they are to the human ear. How does sound behave? Think of sound as a beam, like a ray of light, passing through space and encountering objects. When sound strikes a surface, a number of things can happen, including transmission. The sound passes through the surface into the space beyond it, like light passing through a window. Absorption. The surface absorbs the sound like a sponge absorbs water. Reflection. The sound strikes the surface and changes direction like a ball bouncing off a wall. Diffusion. The sound strikes the surface and is scattered in many directions like pins being hit by a bowling ball. Sound travels in various mediums. Let us understand how the transmission happens to finally reach our ears. It can be transmitted through the air or through the building fabric. When transmitted through air, it is called airborne sound. When transmitted through the building by the way of vibrations or impact, it is called structure-borne sound. The table that you see here shows the maximum acoustic pressure levels depending on the type of area or activity performed there. Let us look at how sound behaves in an enclosed space. The sound wave, after originating from the source, behaves in different ways depending upon the nature of the enclosed space, the shape of the room, and the materials used. Look at the image and the various pointers indicating the types of behavior the sound wave could be subjected to. In this section, we will try to understand the behavior of sound. When we know that the sound in an enclosed space is not adequately performing, we know there are some flaws that need to be tackled. Let us look at some of these flaws or defects. When a guitar string is plucked, notice that the sound of the string persists for some time. This is called reverberation. While reverberation may be delightful in some cases, it may cause problems in other cases. That is when they are looked at as defects. It may result in confusion with the subsequent sound created and hence may affect audibility inside indoor environments. So you see, the reverberation time would be more in auditoriums or choirs as opposed to classrooms or conference rooms because persistence of sound during concerts may enhance the experience but may affect audibility during lectures or meetings in a classroom or a conference room. Windows and fenestrations are factors that control reverberation time or RT. Open windows allow sound to completely pass through, reducing RT, while closing windows increases RT. The percentage of openings in a space will allow control the reverberation time. Reverberation time can be controlled by the suitable choice of building materials and furnishing materials. A brick wall will have a different absorption coefficient as opposed to a concrete or a stone wall, which would affect the reverberation time. There are also psychoacoustical effects caused by reverberation. In large open plan offices, for example, it is desirable to keep the reverberant sound field to a minimum to ensure speech privacy across the open space. However, walking in an acoustically dead environment can be very distressing over time, leading to a sense of isolation. In the images, the spaces in the offices are open owing to the use of glass for visual transparency. However, the enclosure ensures acoustic isolation necessary for the meeting room. Appropriate acoustical glass could also be used for cutting out exterior noise further. This could be very useful in designing co-working spaces as well. Planning an office with flexibility of enclosures is a good way of giving acoustic choices depending upon the purpose. Absorbent ceiling tiles and other absorbent material available in the market could be used appropriately to modulate reverberation time for acoustic comfort. Image B shows how residual sound, if not tackled by materials, could lose all sense of direction. Image A shows how late reflections could be diffused to raise reverberation level or absorbed to reduce reverberation levels. Not all sound that hits matter is absorbed. Some of it is reflected. That means sound bounces off the solid matter the way a tennis ball bounces off a wall. Sound reflected back to its source is called an echo. This defect is avoided by selecting proper shape for the space. Use of splayed walls instead of parallel walls greatly reduces the problem and enhances the acoustical quality of a large space. Echoes may be avoided by covering the opposite walls and high ceilings with absorptive material. Providing rough and porous interior surfaces to disperse the energy of echoes. In an auditorium, for instance, echoes could be mitigated by splaying the ceiling profile. Flutter echoes are produced by sound traveling quickly between two parallel reflective surfaces. This commonly occurs in smaller or narrower spaces. To mitigate the undesired effects of flutter echoes, the room surface could be splayed and absorptive or diffusive material may be used on one of the surfaces. Sometimes, certain curved surfaces make sound waves concentrate in some particular areas of the space, creating amplified sounds in specific areas. These spots are called sound foci. To design acoustically comfortable buildings, it is important to take into account the needs of the occupants as well as the variety of external and architectural factors. Acoustic comfort must be planned right from the inception of the building. The orientation and the building mass has a huge role to play to cut out exterior noise. The image on the right has the courtyard facing the highway. This would lead to barrier-free access of the vehicular noise right into the building. However, if the building is flipped with the courtyard facing the inner side, the vehicular noise cannot enter through the windows. NRC or noise reduction coefficient is a measurement of how well a product makes the room you are in quieter, while STC or sound transmission class measures how well a product keeps sound from escaping the room. It is important to know the NRC of building materials to understand their acoustic effectiveness. There are various kinds of insulating materials available in the market. They can be broadly classified under non-porous rigid, porous rigid, and non-rigid porous flexible materials. It is important to note that the STC rating for materials slightly changes with changing frequencies of sound. Materials with higher STC rating perform better acoustically. The given chart indicates STC of some building materials in different frequencies. Let us look at case studies for acoustic comfort in offices. There may be various work zones of working within an office space. Each of these zones would have different working methodologies and hence may have separate acoustic requirements. Formal, informal working areas, huddle areas, and breakout spaces all have different acoustic requirements. The auditorium, which was 80 to 100 seater in one, made use of acoustic fiber panels on the sides of the walls for increased acoustic insulation. Architect Ayan Sen talks in the webinar about the acoustic interventions in the space, be it on the side walls, the ceiling, or the flooring, to bring acoustic well-being inside the auditorium. Log on to this webinar to receive further insights. In this project, the program of the institution is designed in a cluster format. The courtyard-facing walls of all programs are designed with openings to allow a visual connect with other students in the courtyards, veranda, and the classroom clustered around the court. The students, hence even when in their respective spaces, feel as if they are in a collective learning environment without walls separating them. The workshops laboratories, lecture and community rooms are designed without any shared walls to create vistas outward between each program, to reduce any noise transfer from one room to the next, and to allow air circulation around the rooms, keeping them cooler. Hence, acoustic well-being and overall well-being is achieved. Just like it is important to design for a sound experience, it is also important to design for those who may not operate solely with the element of sound or may have trouble comprehending regular levels of sound. To ensure well-being for the hearing impaired in designs, check the reference given in this description box. With all the concepts introduced, let us do some more self-study and learn more about how acoustic well-being in the spaces we can design can be enhanced. The sound attenuation of any material is governed by its mass, stiffness, and damping characteristics. With a single glass pane, the only effective way to increase its performance is to increase the thickness, because stiffness and damping cannot be changed. Thicker glass tends to provide greater sound reduction, even though it may actually transmit more sound at specific frequencies. While laminated glass provides better sound reduction than single pane monolithic glass, acoustic glass provides most sound reduction. Acoustic glass consists of two or more sheets of glass bonded together with one or more acoustic interlayers. Each pane of glass in a noise reduction window or door is laminated with a layer of polyvinyl butyral (PVB). Considerable sound reduction occurs owing to sound damping by PVB, the soft interlayer used to permanently bond the glass panes together dissipates energy by vibration. Increasing air cavity between two sheets of glazing reduces sound intensity considerably. Along with picking the right thickness as per the acoustic need inside the space, introducing double or triple glazing with air cavities can attenuate sound considerably. This table indicates greater sound reduction with increasing STC rating in the corresponding types of glass. In terms of planning, creating buffer zones in planning at entry points reduces a considerable amount of sound inside a space. Like acoustical doors, acoustical windows attenuate sound. They are almost always double or triple glazed. The glass is often laminated and of unequal thickness, and the reveals are sound absorbing. Sealants used to seal joints, windows, and partitions are also an important factor in soundproofing a space. One must select sealants with a greater acoustical value. Log on to this course on Glass Academy to continue learning on how to enhance the acoustic well-being of environments through glass. Go back to your case study picked in Module 1. Listen to the various kinds of sounds that you hear inside the space. Ambient sounds, vibrations from the building, certain unpleasant noises from the exterior. Write remarks about the overall acoustic experience.